Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Marijane Smitherman. I'm here to make comments on the APUSH curriculum. I'm here to comment against it. My husband Barry and I are the parents of 4 children. Our 4th child of 4 children will take the APUSH this fall. I think it's safe to say that I probably have more experience with the AP curriculum than probably anybody here. All total, my children have taken 41 AP classes.
Oh, wow.
So I'm quite invested also as a consumer of AP information. When I read that there was going to be a new APUSH curriculum, I began to investigate and compare the two. So I have actually, I downloaded both sets to compare, to make an apples-to-apples comparison of the 2014 versus the 2010 curriculum. So I want to talk to you about those differences right now. First of all, change in length that Mr. Mercer mentioned. It's gone from 6 pages to 98 pages. I feel like that this creates more of a burden for our teachers and decreases the flexibility that they've had. Second, there is a change in theme comment. Now, what I handed out to you, I went ahead and I copied off. I spent over $100 on copies, so I'm so happy to be able to testify.
Oh.
I went ahead and copied off the thematic learning objectives, which is what you have. And then I also made copies of the index, which is at the back of the AP, the 2014 APUSH. I also made copies of the 2010 information, which is all those objectives and the themes too, so that you yourself can have a side-by-side comparison. I think Mr. Ratliff had wanted to know what had been taught in the 2010 APUSH. So y'all have it.
And these will be sent to the other members.
Okay.
Copies, yeah.
Okay, I did give Mr. Ratliff a copy of it when he walked out, told him to drive safe. Anyway. Second, there's a change. May I go ahead and continue?
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you. My second point is that there's a change in theme content, as you'll see as you go through. Originally, there are 12 themes, beginning with American diversity, ending with war and diplomacy. 2014, it covers identity, work exchange, and technology. Peopling, I'm not quite sure what that stands for. Anyway, the third change I noticed was there's a change in the historical periods outlined. Now, we know that as teachers, a good outline moves chronologically, especially in history. You start from what happened pre-Columbian, move all the way past 1980, and this makes it easy for teachers to teach every day. They know what they covered yesterday. It also makes for the student, it's very easy to learn because they learn the context of history in which it happened. What I found when I read over the 2014 outline was that, as you'll see, I read it and it says that it's chronological, but each section is mixed up. Events are placed haphazardly, and there's also some repetition of events. So it's very confusing. I think that's why there's 98 pages, actually, because of the repetitiveness of it. Fourth, there's a change in the historical events that are covered. The topic outline of the 2010 curriculum fully lists the who, what, when, where, and why that's covered in each one of the time periods. Now, this was a little harder for me to discern in the 2014, and so I included the index for you. You go ahead and look up and tell me where Martin Luther King is covered. You go ahead and look up and tell me where Hitler is covered. So this feeds right into my fourth change, which is a change in the historical events covered, which is that the founding of America. Of course, we know Thomas Jefferson's not in there, John Adams, none of the battles are in there. Civil War period, Lincoln-Douglas debate's not in there, the assassination of Lincoln, none of the Civil War battles are covered. From the World War II period, again, Greatest Generation, Hitler. There's nothing in there about the atrocities that were committed against the Jews and other groups. We know that he also picked on handicapped people, the young and the old. My fifth change that I noticed was there's a direct change in the view of American national character. So what are the views of America and ideas about American exceptionalism that are in the 2010 APUSH? How are those woven throughout? The 2010 curriculum objectively lists the historical events in a framework of bravery, hope, and perseverance. The 2014, unfortunately, makes inaccurate connections and negative biases towards America. And this culminates on page 70, where it says, when it refers to the end of World War II, and the decision to drop the atomic bomb raised questions about American values. It's very disturbing. According to your own guidelines, the board may adopt a resolution expressing an opinion related to instructional materials based on the following criteria. You state that things do not present the most current factual information accurately and objectively without editorial opinion or bias by the authors. That may not be used. Or present positive aspects of the United States and its heritage. Or present balanced or factual treatment of political or social movements in history. Now, what Mr. Ratliff said when you were considering your investment in hedge fund, if you asked 25 million people, what would they think about it? I would like to say, if you asked 25 million people here in Texas what they thought about a history curriculum that did not include Hitler, that did not include the Reverend Martin Luther King, that did not include affirmative action, what would they say about it? And I would say that they would say, no, it's not good. Now, in reference to what Ms. Perez said, that APUSH is a choice, it actually is not a choice. As a parent of 4 children, there is not another curriculum that is advanced in history, nor is there another curriculum that offers a 1.2 multiplier, which in the end is what all the kids are after. They're after about a more critical thinking curriculum and after the 1.2 multiplier. I also might add that we as parents pay for the kids to take these tests at the end of the year, about $65 per test. So I'm also, again, I'm a customer. So please ask me any questions that you want.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for wrapping up.
Sure.
Questions? Mrs. Knight?
Have you had any conversations with the college board about the new guidelines?
No, ma'am, I have not. I have not. No.
You might consider that since you put so much work into this.
Well, would they talk to me?
Well, we have someone here today who I know actually would be very happy to talk to you later. If you can stick.
Oh, I can stay here all day long. It's great.
Okay.
To tell you the truth, personally, I feel like that this curriculum is, if I can be bold, it's very anti-Semitic. It is not teach history the way that history happened.
Okay. Other questions from board members? Mr. Mercer?
Thank you again for being here. It's interesting because I've expressed that before about you probably in here, and I don't know what the previous exam had. I do know one of my concerns about educators being ready. And previous to now, they had a battery of over 300 questions asked in previous exams and over 200 essays that were scored. And I tell you that because you can go back and say, hey, as an educator, here are the last 5 times they asked about Martin Luther King. Here are 3 essay questions on Monroe Doctrine.
Right.
And you could look at that and say, here's an essay where they got the scores and multiple, 3 to 4 points. Here's one they got 5 to 6. Here's one they got 8 to 9. So as an educator, I'm really concerned about my classroom educator. This change, especially now when I realize, because now this adds to what my concern was. We just finished May with the current set. We're starting in 5 weeks from now.
Right.
But the materials I had last time, I cannot use those as an educator to get ready for the class starting in 5 weeks because it's no longer.
Right.
So what are your thoughts about that?
Right. As a parent of high school junior this fall who is registered to take this class, I'm very concerned. Another thing that I'm concerned about is you reference this on page 115 of the 2014, which was in the long essay question. where it was talking about that the Constitution was written for elites. It says here, another analysis supporting the assertion made in the exam question might draw upon the work of historian Charles Beard, who famously argued that the creation of the Constitution in the late 1780s was a counter-revolution. Now, I looked up Charles Beard on Quizlet, okay, and he lived from 1874 to 1948. It says on Wikipedia that he wrote The Rise of American Civilization in 1927 with his wife. He opposed our entry into World War II and lost all credibility as a historian. Now, why are we referencing him in this? What's that about?
Okay, other questions?
Well, thank you. Because what about a comment when they have someone who wrote that the same thing, a revolution was not really a revolution? Board members, I've never heard that, and I just don't. I want to let you know that we have met. Again, I've had a great phone interview, whatever, with College Board and meeting, and good people. I've learned an awful lot, enjoyed it. I'm just, as you can tell, when I look at 2010 to 14, and knowing that my educators who had a battery of great questions in 2010, but apparently not, well, you're telling me what's left out here. I'm concerned, not just my own, what I see as a negative bias, but I'm concerned about my classroom educator. Do you think a classroom educator can be ready in 5-6 weeks to do this?
No, they cannot.
And lastly, if they're trying to tie it, I know one group was trying to do it, and I thought I did a good job trying to tie our standards to all the strands in this one and going through it, but that's one ISD out of 1,200 to get ready in 5 weeks. Can they possibly get this stuff together and do if this is 100% great, everything you would want in here, balanced, fair, and the good and bad, very balanced, could they get ready in this short period of time to do a good job for our kids? What do you think about that?
Well, my three first children, whatever, were taught by the same AP U.S. history teacher. Wonderful man, just knowledgeable. He resigned at the end of this last spring, in May. We actually had over 30 teachers in my high school alone resign.
Why did he resign? Just retirement or just?
Well, I have several that I'm friends with because, as you can imagine, several of my children have had the same teacher, and so we do have a friendship, and it's been over the AP. Because they foresee that the English and the Social Studies department will be merged together into a humanities department, and that each one will lose its beautiful concentration in those subject matters. And so I know that the teachers at my school are not going to be ready just because we're probably hiring new teachers, and trying to get them up to snuff. And I don't think it's going to be possible.